Central Home Minister gives a significant statement on Jammu and Kashmir. AFSPA could soon be revoked in Jammu and Kashmir. This law has already been repealed in several states. United Nations releases World Water Development Report 2024. 2.2 billion people lack access to managed drinking water. UN water issues figures. Global E-Waste Monitor report released 62 billion kilograms of e-waste generated in 2022, expected to increase to 82 billion kilograms by 2030. India Employment Report 2024 reveals the deteriorating employment situation in the country. Nearly 83% of youth are unemployed. And ASI makes a major announcement: 18 central protected monuments to be delisted, many prominent names included in the list. Recently, Union Home Minister made a significant statement regarding Jammu and Kashmir. He said that the central government will consider revoking the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, that is AFSPA, in Jammu and Kashmir. Currently, AFSPA has been removed from 70% of the areas in the northeastern states. Speaking of AFSPA, it was initiated in 1942. During this time, the British colonial government enacted the Armed Forces Special Powers Ordinance to suppress the Quit India movement. After independence, it was implemented in various parts of the country to deal with internal security challenges. In this context, a special ordinance specifically for Jammu and Kashmir was enacted in 1990. After independence, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act was approved by the then president in 1958. It is known as the Armed Forces Special Powers Act of 1958. AFSPA empowers the armed forces to maintain public order in disturbed areas. They have the authority to impose a curfew on gatherings of 5 or more individuals in an area. Additionally, if the armed forces believe that someone is violating the law, they can use force after giving an appropriate warning. Furthermore, the military can arrest someone without a warrant and conduct searches or raids without a warrant. In the country, electoral preparations are currently underway. In this series, the DEMP, which stands for District Election Management Plan, has become the center of discussions. DEMP is a comprehensive document that utilizes data and analysis to ensure the smooth conduct of elections. According to the Election Commission of India, DEMP is prepared at least 6 months before the potential voting day. However, after the issuance of the election notification, several amendments are made to it. To implement DEMP, electoral officials, administrative officers, and law enforcement agencies are required. Plans are also made for regular discussions with political parties and the media to provide information about electoral rules. This plan starts with a district profile, which serves as the foundation of electoral strategy. It includes a political map realigning electoral areas, key demographics, and basic infrastructure figures, among other details. Another important component of DEMP is systematic voter education and electoral participation, or SWEEP, which is primarily focused on increasing electoral participation. It involves analyzing voter turnout data to identify polling stations with below average or very low voter turnout. Additionally, DEMP prepares a comprehensive outline of strategies for election workers' planning, training, welfare, and deployment. Recently, UNESCO, on behalf of the United Nations Water, published the World Water Development Report 2024. The report emphasizes that tensions over water are escalating worldwide, and to maintain peace, states should promote international cooperation and cross-border agreements. According to this new report, still today 2.2 billion people lack safely managed access to drinking water. 3.5 billion people do not have safely managed sanitation services. Given these figures, the report suggests that achieving the United Nations goal of ensuring access to clean water for all by 2030 is unlikely. This increases the likelihood of growing inequalities. The report also mentions that between 2002 and 2021, more than 1.4 billion people were affected by drought. By 2022, nearly half of the world's population experienced serious water scarcity, while a quarter of the population faced extremely high levels of water stress. The report also suggests that the frequency and severity of these events are expected to increase due to climate change posing serious risk to social stability. Furthermore, water scarcity disproportionately affects social development, especially impacting girls and women. In many rural areas, they are the primary water collectors which consume many hours of their day. This affects their education, economic participation, and well-being. The water crisis is also one of the main factors driving migration. UN Water coordinates the work of the United Nations on water and sanitation. Recently, the fourth Global E-Waste Monitor report by the United Nations has been published. According to this report, the world generated 62 billion kilograms of electronic or e-waste in the year 2022. By the year 2030, this is expected to increase to 82 billion kilograms. However, in the year 2010, the world generated only 34 billion kilograms of e-waste. Out of these 62 billion kilograms of e-waste, 31 billion kilograms were metals, 17 billion kilograms were plastics, and 14 billion kilograms were other materials such as minerals, glass, composite materials, etc. Every year, a significant amount of 58,000 kilograms of lead and brominated flame retardant plastic totaling 45 million kilograms is left in the environment. The report suggests that this has a direct and serious impact on the environment and people's health. The biggest concern highlighted in the report is that e-waste generation is increasing faster than formal recycling, nearly 5 times more. According to the report, out of the 62 billion, only 13.8 billion kilograms of e-waste were collected and recycled in an environmentally friendly manner. The report states that Europe has the highest e-waste recycling rate at 42.8%, while in Africa the e-waste recycling rate is the lowest, with most African countries having a recycling rate of less than 1%. The report also mentions that Asian countries produce approximately half of the world's e-waste, which is around 30 billion kilograms. However, there has been limited progress in e-waste management in Asian countries. India has set a new milestone in the space world. The PSLV orbital experimental module, that is POEM-3, re-entered Earth's atmosphere without leaving any debris in orbit. ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization, has dubbed this achievement as another milestone. Notably, to reduce space debris, ISRO has been taking steps such as reducing the final stages of inactive satellites and rockets and eliminating additional fuel since last year. It is noteworthy that the issue of space debris has emerged as a global concern. Space debris refers to man-made objects in Earth's orbit that no longer serve any useful purpose. This includes inactive satellites, inactive rocket stages, and fragments from collisions or other events. Space debris can pose several risks. In fact, the likelihood of this debris falling is higher in oceanic areas because 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans. Consequently, large objects can become a threat to marine life and a source of pollution. Additionally, floating debris in space poses a potential hazard to operational satellites, and collisions with them can render satellites inactive. The excessive population of objects and debris in space is called the Kessler syndrome. To address space debris, several initiatives have been undertaken not only by India but also at a global level. India has launched Project Netra, which is an early warning system to track debris and other hazards to Indian satellites in space. In 1993, at the international level, the Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee was established to address the issue of space debris mitigation. Recently, scientists discovered a 50,000-year-old sediment in the Bay of Bengal. According to scientists, most of the large magnetofossils were found in sediments from the Upper Pleistocene approximately 56 million years ago, indicating that they were formed only during periods of extreme heat. Scientists also suggested that rivers such as the Godavari, Mahanadi, Ganges, Brahmaputra, Kaveri, and Pennar which flow into the Bay of Bengal, played a significant role in the formation of magnetofossils. The nutrient-rich sediments brought by these rivers provided an ample supply of reactive iron in the anoxic conditions of the Bay of Bengal, which combined with organic carbon available in suboxic conditions created a conducive environment for the development of magnetotactic bacteria. However, the origin of the large magnetofossils remains a mystery. It is believed that these bacteria follow magnetic fields to reach areas of optimal oxygen abundance. Through an electron microscope, it has been found that these bacteria contain novel structured particles rich in iron within small vesicles. These particles function essentially as a compass. These magnetotactic bacteria produce small crystals made of iron-rich mineral magnetite or greigite. These crystals help them navigate changing oxygen levels in aquatic environments. Let us tell you that magnetofossils are fossilized remains of magnetic particles created by magnetotactic bacteria, which is also known as magnetobacteria. Magnetotactic bacteria are mostly prokaryotic organisms that align themselves with the Earth's magnetic field. The description of these unique organisms was first made in 1963 by an Italian doctor named Salvatore Bellini. Recently, the India Employment Report 2024 has been released. This report was issued by the Human Development Institute and the International Labour Organization. According to the report, there has been an improvement in overall labour force participation, workforce participation and employment rates in India since 2019. However, the current situation of employment in the country has deteriorated. According to the survey, there have been slow changes in non-agricultural employment. The report indicates an increase in self-employment and informal family work among women. However, unemployment among youth has also increased rapidly. In 2022, the share of unemployed youth in the total unemployed population was 82.9%. The share of educated youth among all unemployed people increased from 54.2% in 2000 to 65.7% in 2022. This report shows that the problem of unemployment in India has become increasingly concentrated among youth, especially educated youth and women in urban areas. The report highlights 5 main policy areas: promoting job creation, improving the quality of employment, addressing labor market inequalities, strengthening skills and active labor market policies, and addressing knowledge gaps on labor market patterns and youth employment. Recently, the ASI, which stands for the Archaeological Survey of India, has decided to delist 18 central protected monuments from the list. According to the ASI, these monuments are no longer of national significance. These 18 monuments were part of the previous list of monuments that the ASI had deemed untraceable. Among the locations in this list are the Kos Minar in the village of Mujessar in Haryana, the Barakhamba Cemetery in Delhi, and the tomb of Gunner Barkil in Jhansi district. Removing a monument from the list means it will no longer be protected by the ASI. Under the AMA-SR Act, no construction-related activity is allowed around a protected site. Once a monument is removed, construction and urbanization-related activities can be carried out regularly in the area. Notably, the AMA-SR Act is a law in India aimed at conserving the country's rich heritage and cultural assets. It defines an ancient monuments and imposes restrictions on any construction activity or alteration in the protected area around ancient monuments without permission. Let us tell you that the Indian Archaeological Survey is a premier organization for archaeological research and conservation of the nation's cultural heritage. It operates under the Ministry of Culture. Its main task is the preservation of nationally significant ancient monuments, archaeological sites, and remains. Now let's check our knowledge by practicing some questions related to the news. Questions based on today's bulletin are: first question is, consider the following statements in the context of Armed Forces Special Powers Act, that is AFSPA. 1. AFSPA was enacted in 1942. 2. This rule is applicable in the states of Assam, Arunachal Pradesh and Tripura. 3. It empowers armed forces to maintain public order in disturbed areas. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none of the above. Next question is, consider the following statements in the context of the District Election Management Plan. 1. It outlines the plan, training and deployment of election personnel. 2. DEMP is prepared at least 6 months before the potential voting day. 3. Once prepared, no modifications are possible in DEMP. Which of the above statements is or are incorrect? Only one, only two, all three, or none of the above. Next question is, consider the following statements regarding magnetofossils. 1. These are fossilized remains of magnetite particles created by magnetotactic bacteria. 2. They are also known as magnetobacteria. 3. They were discovered by American scientists in 1963. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none of the above. Next question is, consider the following statements regarding Kessler syndrome. 1. This syndrome affects the human brain. 2. The discovery of this syndrome was made in 2002. 3. There is no known cure for this syndrome yet. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none of the above. Last question is, consider the following statements regarding e-waste. 1. It is the abbreviated form of electronic waste. 2. Laws for managing e-waste have been in place in India since 2011. 3. India's first e-waste clinic was established in Bhopal, Madhya Pradesh. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Only one, only two, all three, or none of the above. Recently, the Reserve Bank of India announced the finalization of the Omnibus framework to recognize self-regulatory organizations for its regulated entities. The framework aims to improve industry standards for self-regulation alongside embracing new technologies for the enhanced operation of regulated entities. The Omnibus framework provides a comprehensive set of guidelines and regulations for the recognition of self-regulatory organizations. Without compromising sectoral specificity, the Omnibus SRO Framework establishes common objectives, functions, eligibility criteria, and operational standards for all SROs. Recently, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar embarked on a visit to the Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Paheredar. It is deployed as part of foreign deployment in the Gulf of Manila in the Philippines among ASEAN countries. The ship is on foreign deployment in ASEAN countries, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Brunei from March 25 to April 12. This is the Indian Coast Guard's third consecutive deployment in ASEAN countries. This trip also holds significant importance in strengthening bilateral relations with major maritime agencies, including the Philippine Coast Guard, Vietnam Coast Guard, and Brunei Maritime Agencies. Recently, the International Astronomical Union approved the name Station Shiv Shakti for the landing site of Chandrayaan-3's Vikram lander. The Gazetteer of Planetary Nomenclature is maintained by the US Geological Survey's Astrogeology Science Center on behalf of the IAU. On August 23, 2023, Chandrayaan-3 successfully landed on the southern pole of the moon. With this, India became the fourth country in the world to achieve a soft landing on the lunar surface. Before India, this feat was achieved by the United States, China, and Russia. Recently, the fourth edition of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Startup Forum was organized in New Delhi. This initiative aims to facilitate startup dialogue among SCO member countries, foster an innovative, friendly environment, promote job creation, and encourage the development of new solutions by young talents. A showcase was provided in the SCO Pavilion where more than 15 SCO startups displayed their products and services. Networking opportunities were also made available to support, educate, and empower these entrepreneurs. Recently, the Indian Space Research Organization conducted a successful demonstration of the Pushpak landing mission from Karnataka. This landing experiment is part of the Reusable Launch Vehicle Technology Demonstrator LEX-02 mission. It was lifted by the Indian Air Force Chinook helicopter from an altitude of 4.5 kilometers. Pushpak is a spacecraft rocket that is 6.5 meters long and weighs 1.75 tons, resembling an aeroplane. It is prepared for sending into space and can be sent into space along with the remaining rocket stages. Additionally, the Pushpak rocket could also be used in the future for refueling satellites orbiting in space. Recently, researchers have discovered a new species of isopod in the deep sea off the coast of Kollam. This new species is named Brusethoa Isro. The species name is in honor of the successful space missions of the Indian Space Agency, particularly the Chandrayaan-3 mission. Researchers found this isopod species inside the gill chambers of the spinny jaw green eye fish, which resides at the depths of 250 to 450 meters off the Kerala coast. The females of this species are larger compared to males, with lengths increasing up to approximately 19 millimeters and widths up to 6 millimeters. For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.